At its heart, polyvagal theory describes how the brain's unconscious sense of safety or danger impacts our emotions and behaviors. In this powerful book, pediatrician and neonatologist Marilyn R. Saunders and child psychiatrist George S. Thompson offer readers both a meditation on caregiving and a call to action for physicians, educators, and mental health providers. When children don't have safe relationships, or emotional, medical, or physical traumas punctuate their lives, their ability to love, trust, and thrive is damaged. Children who have multiple relationship disruptions may have physical, behavioral, or mental health concerns that follow them into adulthood. By attending to the lessons of polyvagal theory, that adult caregivers must be aware of children's unconscious processing of sensory information. The authors show how professionals can play a critical role in establishing a sense of safety, even in the face of danger and sometimes incomprehensibly scary situation. I want to say thank you to Dr. Thompson for agreeing doing this interview. Dr. Thompson, in the first section of your book, you talk a lot about the pregnancy and the uterine environment. So I wanted to ask you, which is the connection between pregnancy and polyvagal theory? I mean, how can a mother build a safe place while expecting?
That's a great question. Um, the child's brain is developing while in utero, and the polyvagal theory talks about three physiological states, and each of those states corresponds to structures in the brain and in the nervous system, and each of those are developing during pregnancy. And so the environment inside has an effect on how those develop. And the calmer, safer, more secure the mother feels, that gets transmitted to the baby hormonally and in other ways as these important structures are developing. And so for the mother to feel supported by people in her environment allows her to feel more relaxed, in control, and safer. And then that gets transmitted into the intrauterine environment. It's interesting, like at birth, a baby has preferences for the sounds of the mother's voice, her heartbeat, the taste and smell of her breast milk before even being exposed. And so that tells us that what's happening inside during pregnancy gets translated then to outside after birth. Another example is that, for example, in Germany, some studies that have been done recently um, show that when the mother is more aware of the position of the baby, where they are inside, are they is their head this way, is their head that way, which way their feet going, um, that forms a connection between the mother and the child that then also continues after the child is born.
Okay, so how much do you think is important to, the parents' self-regulation to co-regulate children?
Right, that's very important. Um, our nervous systems are paying attention all of the time to signals of safety and danger in our environment, and that is called neuroception in the polyvagal theory language. Stephen Porges, who created polyvagal theory, named this neuroception, and it's the sensing of whether we're safe or we're dangerous. And so when we're in a self-regulated state, meaning that our emotions aren't in control of us, but we feel more in control of our emotions, then that changes our tone of voice. Our voice becomes more animated. Our facial expression becomes more animated. And this sends nonverbal signals to the people around us, including our child, that the situation that we're in, the environment that we're in is safe. And so when we're self-regulated, we send a signal to other people that we're safe, and that helps to regulate their nervous system. When everybody around us is feeling safe, it's much easier for us to feel safe no matter what's going on.
Of course. because if you can relate to someone who is calmer than you, of course you can find your your way to calm yourself. So it's just like a mirror sometimes, maybe, right?
Exactly. So when we're around somebody that's safer, it tells us that we're safe too. And um, it's interesting that our brains were evolved to work together. And when we are together, then it gives us a sense that challenges that are around us are easier as well. So, for example, there was a study done in which people were asked to look at a hill to see how steep the hill is. And when they're with somebody that they trust, they say that hills don't look as steep as when they're by themselves. It's just one example of how, when we're together, the challenges around us don't look as challenging as when we're by ourselves. And so, if there's somebody that's around us that's regulated, that we're connected to, it's going to make the challenges of life seem like they're much more manageable.
Yeah, they seems like they're much more easier to cope and to face them, maybe. How can we develop an implicit or explicit language of polyvagal informed communication?
Well, I would think from your question that an explicit language are the words that we use. And so the words that we use can indicate we're in it together, or that the person, the child, is in good hands. And so um, things like saying to a child, like, let's put our heads together and see what we can figure out. That's conveying that we're in this together and we're going to work together to make sense of it. So saying things like that, let's work together, let's be together, let's sit together. Um, why don't you and I in English, we say, put our thinking caps on and see what we can come up with. Those kinds of phrases all convey that we're connected, we're in it together. Um, Other explicit things that we can say are, let's see what's helping us to feel safe in this moment, or let's see what's making us feel afraid, or let's see what's making us feel threatened. When we identify what it is that's a little bit scary to us, that the act of identifying it actually starts to calm us down. Even labeling something that's scary um, sends signals to the nervous system that we know what's happening. And so for the nervous system, things that are unfamiliar feel dangerous. Things that are familiar to us feel safe. And so if we even say, I know what this is, even though we're saying spiders are scary, um, knowing that spiders are scary makes it a familiar thing and paradoxically helps to calm things down. So, those are all explicit ways that we can start to describe the effects of what's happening in the polyvagal theory, which is really the neuroscience of safety, of threat, and of being connected. The implicit things are nonverbal communications. And so a nonverbal communication is that, like the tone of voice that I was talking about, an animated tone of voice conveys that I'm in a safe space and that it's safe for you too. So that's going to convey to our child's nervous system that they're in good hands at this moment. An animated facial expression also conveys safety as well. When we go into the fight or flight response, and our tone of voice flattens out. Like if my father was upset with me when I was a kid, he'd say, "George Jr., come here. We need to talk about this." And so that would tell me, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. It's a little bit of a dangerous situation." His face would be stern, and it wouldn't be moving so much. And so those are implicit ways that we're communicating safety and danger to our children.
So I do have other questions for you.
Sure.
Do you think that gestures and physical touch sometimes can help to, calm your friend and calm the person? around you? Do you think gestures is something that can help to achieve this kind of, you know, relaxing environment somehow?
Absolutely. So, our nervous systems are also paying attention to gestures, and physical touch. And um, so I think that culture starts to play a role here too. For example, the distance that people are comfortable being, face to face with in Europe is different than in the United States. In the United States, people like, in general, a little bit more distance to feel comfortable. And so for an American, having a closer physical proximity may make them feel a little bit nervous, and a little bit more space may also help them feel calmer. Um, but in general, we can pay attention to what's happening to the person that we're with or to our child. And if we notice them becoming a little bit agitated, that's a sign that whatever our gestures are or our physical touch that we're using are giving them a signal of danger. And so we can modify what we're doing. Some people really like touch, and a lot of people like even touching themselves. Hand on the side of the face, hand on the heart can send a signal to our own nervous system that we're safe. Um, and for some people that have experienced trauma or bad touch, touch can be a sign of danger. So we have to know the person that we're with. We have to know our own child, and in different moments it may be different. And so one of the things that I like to say is everything is an experiment. If I try something that I think is going to be calming to a person, but they look a little bit more agitated, I can notice that and say, oh, it seems like I've done or said something that's upsetting to you. And also, if they calm down, then I notice, wow, if I touch them on the shoulder, that really is helpful to them.
Right. So you can take notes actually, if something that you say or something that you do can calm or agitate a little bit the other. So the second question, it's about the tone of voice. Of course, when you're a parent, I'm not a parent yet, but of course, when you're a parent, when you get angry at your kids, you tend to sometimes raise your voice. So the question that I have for you is, since the tone of voice, it's very important to communicate, and to communicate also the calmness, okay, that you may be feeling or not. Do you think that when a parent raise for something that maybe doesn't matter so much, their voice can cause a little bit of a trauma in the child, in the children?
Well, good question. From what I'm saying, it may sound like I'm telling parents, never raise your voice, never get angry. That'd be really hard. And so I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that safety is important, and having a foundation of safety between the parent and child is important. And so if something's happening, the child is pulling the cat's tail, and you say, "Stop that." Um, that's all right. Uh, Maybe then come back later and say, "What was that like when I yelled at you?" Now my voice is calm because I've had some chance to calm down myself. The cat is safe; it's escaped from the tail pulling. And now I can have a conversation with my child about what was it like when they were pulling the tail? What were they thinking? Maybe they were just playing with the cat and they didn't know that pulling the tail was going to hurt it, or that kind of thing. And yeah, they can say, "Oh, it scared me, Daddy, when you yelled at me." And I can empathize with them and say, "Yeah, I bet it did scare you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I was just worried about the cat." And so now we can have a conversation and we restore safety after the fact. And so I'm building that relationship by repairing breaks in attunement between myself and the child. So that's something that is important. If we're always yelling, and we're never repairing and having a conversation, then that has the potential to lead to feel the child having a foundation of feeling unsafe with the parent. But if we come back and we repair and we have these moments where we're really close, we're talking about what's happening, then that creates a foundation of safety. And that foundation of safety allows the child to go out and explore the world and be bold and take risks. Because I like to say, safety is the foundation, not the destination. It's not where we're headed. But if we feel safe, we can go out and explore the world. We can be ourselves. We can have a good time, and really have a great life.
Do you think it's possible for a child, maybe more than a teenager, to co-regulate himself, to understand when maybe their parents it's getting a little bit frustrated, because of course parents can get frustrated with the children. And do you think that the child can achieve the goal of self-regulation by himself? Do you think it's possible?
Sure. And one of the things that happens is that we need to have co-regulation first to be able to develop
Mm.
self-regulation. So an infant, we can't tell a one-year-old, use your coping skills. That seems silly to say that to a young child. But yes, children do, over the course of their development, learn to self-regulate more and more. Um, and so it is possible for a teenager to self-regulate and then to co-regulate other people, their siblings, their friends, even their parents. Um, and uh, I'm thinking of an example even from my own life, where I got some really hard news, and I was with my son, who was 17 at the time, and he was able to be with me when I got that news. I don't usually ask my son to co-regulate me, but there we were. We were in the airport. I got this news, and he said, "What happened?" And I told him, and he listened to me in a very compassionate way. So the other part of that is that even as adults, we do need co-regulation at times when difficult things happen, and or we're dysregulated for many different reasons. Then we call a friend, we talk to our spouse, we talk to our parents, and that helps us to stay regulated as well.
So the key word here, I suppose, is together. Together, it's possible to achieve uh, the self-regulation, because at first you co-regulate, and then you can do it probably, hopefully, by yourself.
Together is one of my favorite words, yes. And if we do that together with our kids when they're young, it actually helps them to build the brain circuits for self-regulation later on. So co-regulation, we're supporting their brain circuits to develop and to develop into self-regulating circuits.